Quite a day. Um, you know, Don Lemon has been arrested. Three other people, journalists, have been arrested with him. Everybody who was arrested is black. I don't think that was an accident. We have polling to talk about. We have polling news to discuss, and I want to share something with you guys about an organization that I recently learned about from District Attorney Larry Krasner in Philadelphia. And I think that's going to be very interesting and informative to you guys. Let me just pull up my live so I can see what's going on here. Um, so, we have a lot to cover this morning. Let's start with Don Lemon. I know nobody's here yet, but I'm also recording this. Um, you know, we knew as of I could see folks are coming in, but I can't. For some reason, I can't see you guys yet. Hey, Pandela, I can see you. How are you? Thank you for joining me today. Let me just repeat the introduction as folks start to come in today. We're going to cover obviously Don Lemon today and the additional journalists that were arrested with him. And there is a civil rights lawyer that was arrested in relation to the same protest recently. And I'm crazy about. I agree with you, Pandel. It's nuts. It's insane. I'm going to I'm not just going to talk about the Don Lemon thing, but I'm also going to talk about the fact that I don't think that this is an accident that they were all black, you know. And when we get more into it, I think what I'm going to talk about a little bit is sometimes it's easy to forget when we're seeing the violence and when we're seeing the violence against the protesters. And we've been watching incessant violence against migrants for months now. When we see that violence, we're forgetting. I think it's easy to just forget that this ICE Gestapo effort, Donald Trump's crackdown on illegal migrants, right, has always been about race, right? This has always been a racist thing, right? It's always been about these. I just noticed these here. You guys can all see these. These are wings my son 3D printed earlier today for a project at school. And I just realized I had them in the camera shot. But this whole thing is about race. And I want to get into that. I hope you're okay, Pandela. I hope you're not feeling. I hope you didn't call out because you're feeling kind of crummy today. I hope you're feeling okay. But I'm glad you're here. Hey, Katie, how are you? This whole thing is about race, and we're going to get into that in a little bit more in about a minute or two. The other thing that I plan to cover today, well, let me just kind of show you the quick scene. So this is the Don Lemon story that we're going to get into in a moment. We're going to cover the story, but we all need them. We all need them, Pandela. We all need mental health days. Good for you. We're going to cover this story, but I'm going to cover it from not just the news, but from a couple of angles, from the angle of stupidity and from the angle of race. And we're going to get into that in just a moment. We're going to start there. Then we're going to, I'm going to do a few things to try to help you guys feel a little bit better. And, oh, hang on. Let me just make a quick adjustment to my window here. Oops, sorry about that, guys. Hang on. I just kind of closed up all of my my windows here. Hang on, guys. Just bear with me. I just want to clean up. Oh my goodness. Let me just open that up a little bit bigger, and that should solve this problem. Maybe not. All right. So basically what I'm showing you that you can't see is an article from Pew, and it's some recent polling. Hi, Tom. Hi, 305 all day. Hi, Beth, Catherine. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to share some polling with you guys from Pew that I think is going to, on another day of crazy, appalling, authoritarian, stupid fucking shit. There's reason to be hopeful. And then I want to really kind of share something with you that I hope will be inspiring for you guys. It's a new organization. It's being spearheaded. I learned about this yesterday in an actual press conference that I was able to attend. It's being spearheaded by Larry Krasner. He's the district attorney of Philadelphia. And it is district attorneys and prosecutors at the city and county levels around the country that are coming together to protect you, to protect us, to protect all of us from ICE. And it is an organization I expect in the very, 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 very immediate future. Sorry about that. I just had a tickle in my throat. In the very immediate future, you're going to be hearing and seeing a lot more of. It's an organization that is going to find its way into cable news because it is an organization that is almost certainly going to be prosecuting at the local level, at the city and county level, that is going to be prosecuting ICE Gestapo agents if they keep the shit up that they're doing. Hey, Dave from California, how are you? And it's going to be meaningful. So that's sort of the last thing I want to go over and I want to share with you guys. So please stick around with that. So let's get back to Don Lemon. Okay, I don't know what happened to my. Let me just kind of see if I can fix my. Let me just fix this up here. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. Now we can actually see what we're looking at. So let's just start with the basic news, and then I'm going to get to the racial part of this, and I'm going to get to the stupid part of this. As you all know, Don Lemon was arrested in covering the Grammy Awards. Right, he was arrested last night. Don Lemon will be out soon. First and foremost, don't worry about Don Lemon going to jail. Don Lemon's not going to see, other than the fact he's being held in detention right now. I cannot imagine that we're going to see Don Lemon go to jail. There's not a jury on the planet, and certainly Planet Normal in America in the lower courts, that's going to convict Don Lemon of being a journalist and covering a protest. So Don Lemon's not going to go to jail. It's highly unlikely this will ever go to make it to trial. The other folks, we'll see. But and also nobody's gone to jail yet. Gamer Vet Dad, are you here? I don't know if Gamer Vet Dad is here yet, but he's been doing some. He shared with me. Hopefully, he'll pop in a little bit. And we can get some facts from him. But Gamer Vet Dad shared with me some stats that he looked up about all of the prosecutions, all of the federal prosecutions that Pam Bondi and her dingbat state attorneys have tried to bring against people who supposedly interfered with federal officers, and not a single one of them has been convicted. I think very few of the Very few of the cases even made it to a jury. The few that did, the jury has acquitted. If you remember, it all started with the sandwich hero, like the sandwich guy in Washington, D.C., the guy who got so mad he threw a sandwich at one of the officers and they chased him down. And dingbat Janine Piero couldn't prosecute him. And I remember she came on TV and she was like, she must have just had several swigs from her, her, box of, her box of Chardonnay, and she came down and she told us, well, we're going. He effed around, and he's going to find out, and we're going to put him away. And it turned out to be nothing. The DOJ just dumped more Epstein files today. I did not hear that, Catherine. Ironically, I mentioned yesterday in a meeting that was going to happen today, just as a distraction because of the. I was I how many I'm going to get it. Justice Department releases more records from its Jeffrey Epstein files. Okay, we'll go through that later. We'll dig into that. But I'm not surprised. I knew this was going to happen. It was the focus of it was I was in a meeting yesterday with the chorus group, and we were in our 4 p.m. like news chat where we just kind of talk about politics among us. And I was asking a question about, because the Democrats caved and they folded to the basically made an agreement with the Village Idiot to open the government and fund the DOJ for about 2 weeks. Lindsey Graham threw a monkey wrench into that, but Lindsey just, needs to be relevant and wanted to be heard yesterday. So he had to scream and holler, but it's still going to go. It's going to happen. And then I talked about the fact how in 2 weeks after this kind of goes away, no one's going to remember that the DOJ wasn't going to get funded. The Democrats will have gotten rolled again, and the Department of Justice would just release 30,000 Epstein files to distract us. And lo and behold, we got Don Lemon's arrest, and we got 30,000. We got, I don't know how many Epstein files were released, but just, true to form. If we have time today, guys, we will. We'll go through. We'll take a look at some of those files. Okay. Let me just do this real fast. Let's just do Don Lemon before I get too distracted. So basically, this is local media. Local media is doing, in my opinion, a much better job covering this. Minneapolis journalist Don Lemon and Georgia Fort were arrested Thursday night and Friday morning, respectively, in connection with a protest at a church led by local activists. Social media post from U.S. Attorney and Chief Sociopath of the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, said 2 others were also arrested, including Trahane Cruz, a former candidate for St. Paul mayor and State House of Representatives, as well as co-founder of Black Lives Matter Minnesota. So you had a public official, a activist, and 2 journalists arrested yesterday. Jamal Lundy is an attorney with Headington, Hennepin County, and current DFL candidate from Minnesota. So the sociopath announced on X, at my direction, early this morning, federal agents arrested Don Lemon, Tareen Jean Cruz, Georgia Fort. I know my Pam Bondi impression isn't great, but I feel like I'm getting the gist of it. Oh, just go with me on that. And Jamal Lundy, Lydell Lundy, in connection with these coordinated attack on the city's churches in St. Paul, Minnesota, right? So Lemon's former employer, CNN, issued a statement following arrest saying it raises profoundly concerning questions about press freedom and the First Amendment. The Department of Justice already failed twice to get an arrest warrant for Don and several of the journalists, blah, blah, blah. And also previously, Nakeem Levy-Armstrong, a Minneapolis civil rights attorney and racial justice advocate, was also arrested for her participation in the protest. Now, there's 2 things I want to mention about this protest. One is these arrests. One is, obviously they're stupid. Right. Well, one is, yeah, look. I put out a post earlier today in the notes section here on on Instagram and YouTube Shorts and TikTok, basically reminding everybody that this is the Confederacy of imbeciles, right? And there is the importance. There is the media narrative, rightfully so, now about this. The media narrative, rightfully so, about this issue is this is chilling, and this is going to scare journalists, and journalists are going to be afraid now, and that is a topic to cover. I think the media is going to cover it wrongly. I think they're going to fuck it up. They're fucking it up because I think they should be covering it that this is an effort to scare journalists, but no one is scared. No journal. I don't. Don Lemon isn't even fucking scared. Sitting in, if he's still in detention, and God willing, he's out, right? And these other folks that were arrested, right? There's nothing to be scared about. You know, what's going to happen here is journalists. The narrative that this is an authoritarian act must be propagated on all news outlets. This is an absolute authoritarian act. And authoritarians want to stop the news, control the news, arrest the journalists. Absolutely, we must be vigilant and aware of that, and we must push back on it. Right? No question. But at the same time, it is my job to remind you guys that these are fucking idiots. This is an idiocracy. It's not an autocracy. It's idiots cosplaying as autocrats with the king of the idiots, the village idiot, the dingbat with the orange face, who is in charge of the idiocy. And so we are not going to see from this arrest or from the FBI raid on a Washington Post reporter last week, we're not going to see a chilling of the media. We're going to see the media double down. We're going to see the media grow a set of balls that it didn't have necessarily before, because before all they were losing was money, right? The corporate cowards in charge of ABC, CBS, NBC, well, to a lesser extent, ABC and CBS, the corporate cowards just paid Donald lots of fucking money, right? But that wasn't him going after the journalists, right? That was him going after the corporate cowards. And they're a bunch of, chicken shit, weenie, pathetic weasels on a good day anyway. They've all shown that they're fucking cowards. They have all the money and all the power in the world to fight back. But I was about to say the P word, but the P word is a bridge too far for me. So I won't say the P word. But they're cowards. The journalists are not. Many of them are, the Tara Palmieri's and I can't remember his first name. He's here on Substack, Moran. The ones, the Don Lemons, the ones that are refugees from cable news and network news who've come here. They're not even, a lot of these journalists aren't even afraid. They're not afraid to get fired. They're not afraid. They take their job seriously. They're people of courage and dignity and professionalism and integrity and power. Fucking power, right? They are not going to be, they're not going to be. Journalists for years have been fucking going to jail for not saying who their sources are. They are not going to be cowed by these cowards, these cowards who also happen to be idiots. They also know, like you and I, that thus far no one who has been prosecuted has been convicted. That very few of these cases even get to court, right? There's also a shit ton of pro bono. Abby Lowell is representing Don Lemon because he's so high profile. But as we learned, as I learned in a recent training with a attorney who is hyper focused in politics, there are tons of pro bono lawyers out there right now that are ready to defend our free speech, that are ready to defend us. We are not in we are in a vulnerable position, and we are dealing with idiotic autocrats but we are not beaten. We are not even close to being beaten. And and in terms of, because I think the intent is to chill journalists and to scare the shit out of people like us, smaller folks who are influencers, and who have audiences. And I can tell you, again, through the community that I'm now working with, there are influencers my size. There are influencers who have smaller communities than I have. Uh, there are influencers in our group who have millions of people. None of us are afraid. None of us are cowing, and none of us. Although we haven't had our meeting this morning, I can assure you that when we all get together at 12:30, none of us are going to pull back one iota because these fucking cowardly morons arrested Don Lemon. It's not quite the opposite. We will double down. We will triple down. Our intention will be stronger. Our resolve will be, greater. And the encouragement, hey, Irish Aggie, the encouragement and the support that we're going to get from the communities that we represent. For us, it's xenocracy. For others, it's their communities. But the communities that we represent, because we're not just in there doing this for ourselves. We're doing this for our communities. And our community together, guys, the cohort that I am working with right now, we're small but mighty here at Xenocracy, and we're going to grow. But together, this community that I'm working with, the reason we're getting these high profile sort of press like interviews is we represent almost 150 million people. That's a big fucking chunk of people. And so the ICE Gestapo agents and the Department of Justice arresting Don Lemon and these other folks is going to have the polar opposite effect. And especially for Don's community, right? Don has millions of followers across every social, Substack, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. He is probably the largest pro-democracy influencer in the world right now. And all these idiots are doing is putting a spotlight on him. And, Don Lemon is going to come back from this when he leaves detention. And he comes on to can you imagine when Don goes live, because he goes live several times a day, when Don goes live to tell everybody what he went through, what happened in detention. Can you imagine? He's going to break the internet. You know what I mean? The abject stupidity of these folks is staggering to me. So he's going to get another million viewers, if not more. Absolutely, Lacey. He's going to gain in popularity. I couldn't agree with you more, Catherine. Let me just see if anybody else has a Jim Acosta. He's another. There's a. I know, Dave. You're talking about when I was referring to, all the refugees from cable news and Katie Fang, Terry Moran is his name. I mean, Wajali. They're just. There's Frank Figaluzzi. I'm just thinking of the people who I catch all the time. They're all here. They're all here on TikTok. And Catherine, I'm sorry, I see your comment now. I didn't see it before. I'm so scattered. Their plan to overwhelm is working, but don't give them too much credit, Catherine, because in all honesty, it's all dumb fuckery. If you think about it, here's where we are, right? We're going to talk a little. We've got Don Lemon, and we've got the arrest, right? We've got the situation with House Democrats, in essence, caving. We'll see if that changes today with Don Lemon's arrest. But you've got House Democrats and Trump sort of kind of coming to a deal about not shutting down the government and funding DHS. And I'll clarify all that for you. You've got the release of the Epstein files today, right? And we'll see. I'm sure it's going to be 30,000, 50, whatever it is. I'm sure it's all going to be nothing. It's really, I'm sure, just a distraction today, right? And there might be more, and then we have like all the leftover stupid shit, right? The fucking tariffs, the fact that the idiot might or might not bomb Iran. It just depends on how much more of a distraction the imbecile needs in the next 24 hours. But we can handle this. What I keep saying is, and you'll see this when we get to the part of today's live where we dig into the polling. We can handle everything these idiots throw at us. That we can, not only can we handle it, I think it's our responsibility to magnify it. This is what I look forward to days like this when there's a shit ton of dumb fuckery, crazy dumb fuckery coming out of the Trump administration. I look forward to these days because it's all, it's all a boomerang that I can just toss back at them. Everything that they do, they give us material to make the village idiot less popular, to make him less dangerous. We use what they provide to us to neuter them. You don't have to be creative to beat the Trump administration. You don't have to be creative to win this war of democracy. You just take what they throw at you and you just hold up a mirror, right? And then you just make sure that the whole world sees the mirror. And that's all we need to do. And that's what we're doing. And I can tell you guys that from the data I've looked at, it's working. I'm talking the social media data, which is where the world is. It's not on cable news. And from the polling that we're going to see, it's working. The reflection of their behavior is our greatest asset. So I know it's overwhelming to you, Catherine, because it just churns up anger and fear and frustration. Plus, it's just trying to keep track of all this fucking crazy shit. It's maddening, right? But at the same point, if you step back and you step away from it, it's always four things, right? It feels like more, but it's always four stupid fucking things. It's always four things at the same time, and in the background, it's always Epstein and the economy, right? And that's all it is. And now in the background, it's all, no matter what else happens in the background, it's Epstein, the economy, and ICE murdering, two people in cold blood on live on video, right? Alex Preddy and Renee Good, right? That's all of it in a nutshell. And we can handle that. I promise you guys, we can handle that. We are stronger than, hey, Rodo, we are stronger than they ever can be. We are certainly smarter than they are capable of ever becoming. And we're going to be, we're going to be okay. Gamer Vet Dad, I see you're here now. If you can, Gamer Vet Dad, can you do me a favor and put in the chat here because I want to give people a little bit of as they take a little bit of a deep breath, away from the fear of the prosecutability, the prosecutorial success or the lack thereof. You had sent me that message a little earlier. I didn't have a chance to get back to you, where you gave us the data and the numbers for how many people the DOJ tried to prosecute in relation to protesting, ICE activities and authoritarian activities in the last several months, where there have been no convictions. I'm pretty sure no convictions, and some of the felonies turned into misdemeanors, and just basically most of the people walking free. If you have that data in front of you, can you pop it in the chat, because I want people to see that Don Lemon's going to be fine, and the three other people. There could be something. There's a potential. As I've listened to legal analysts, a slim potential, but that there could be something For the other folks the folks that were not reporting, though, that were activists involved in the protest, but it still strikes me as as a as a as a as a stretch. Um, so um, so the other part of this narrative that I want to talk through with you guys is the racial part of it, and because it matters. Um, all of the people who were arrested last night, this morning, and about a week ago were black, right? Everybody is black. There are no white people that have been arrested in conjunction with this protest, right? Um, I'm sure there were white people there. This is Minneapolis, right? I'm sure there were white people protesting, right? But everybody who was arrested thus far has been black. I think you need to take that into account. I'm taking it into account. Someone in our group pointed that out to me because I hadn't noticed it, and I'm going to own up to something here. I hadn't noticed it because it's not in my head to notice it, right? It's not in my consciousness. My safety, my privilege provides me, unless it's unless the racism is blatant and in your face, I can miss it. And I own that. I get it. I get that I grew up, you know, as a white guy growing up. My parents never had to have the talk with me, right? They never had to tell me that if a police officer pulls you over, keep your hands on the steering wheel, say yes, sir, and don't get killed. That's never a conversation I ever had to have. So although I grew up in a very progressive house and racism was not tolerated, it doesn't mean it didn't exist. It didn't exist, and doesn't mean that the world I lived in, the school that I went to, and the friends that I had, there wasn't racism, because there was, and there were racist thoughts that I never thought were racist until I became an adult, and I was like, what the fuck was I thinking? So I get that. That there is things that it's always a process of growth for me. There are things that I'm going to miss, that I'm not going to catch, that I won't know, because I haven't lived the experience of a man of color, and I don't have those sensors, prone. And I never thought about, when I saw this reporting, I never thought about the fact that they were all black. It never dawned on me until somebody pointed it out to me, and it was like, holy shit, they are all black. And there were white people in that church protesting, right? So what is the ICE Gestapo? I mean, the term Gestapo is so appropriate, with the exception of the fact that the Germans they believe they were part of the pure white race. So you wouldn't have had Latino members of the Gestapo. I've yet to see a black ICE Gestapo agent, but I'm sure there's a couple of them. I think that, but for the most part, although we have seen some folks of Latino descent in the ICE Gestapo, it's mostly just these angry fucking white lard asses, right? For the most part. But irrespective, it's still a racist. If we look at the racism baked into this arrest, right? And I heard on Don Lemon's podcast, because I listened to it, because there are people filling in for him today. And they were specifically talking about the fact that there was an intent here to stifle black journalists, to shut the black community the fuck up, right? And I think that's inarguable. I think that's absolutely the case. And there's no sugarcoating that. We have to acknowledge that. And when you look at the macro, as opposed to just the micro picture here, when you look at the macro, this whole thing is a racist effort. This entire ICE migrant roundup that really started with the village idiot Donald Trump was a dog whistle to white people, right? White people who are worried about the great replacement theory, right? White nationalists, Christian nationalists, right? I mean, wasn't that who he was screaming at when he was constantly talking during the campaign? They're emptying their mental institutions. They're sending other criminals. When the idiot fucking came down the elevator in 2016, Mexico is not sending their best. They're sending the rapist. They're sending the murderers. It was the brown people from south of the border are coming to fucking get you. And we've seen it, and you cannot argue, not you, just the general you. You cannot argue with me, right? You cannot argue with me that this is all about racism. Because why did Donald Trump and Elon Musk, why were they so hyper focused on saving the poor white people who are not being slaughtered in South Africa? Right? By the angry black people in South Africa, right? Why is it that all those supposed South African soon-to-be refugees who needed amnesty status were brought here? Those poor, repressed white people were brought here, given a pathway to citizenship almost immediately when they got here, right? Why isn't Melania herself? I mean, I think her parents are deceased, but why isn't Melania herself, under scrutiny for coming here in some weird fucking way, getting her citizenship, right? Why is that okay? Because she's white. This is about, when you go to the core of this entire fucking thing, it's Donald Trump being an abject racist shitfuck, and his administration surrounding him. It is Stephen Miller, who is not, don't let him fool you that this is America. America is for Americans. I'm going to say that right now. America is for Americans. It's like a little rat. No, Stephen. What Stephen is saying is America is not for brown people, people of color. We're going to get rid of as many of them as we can. And we will denationalize whatever people of color that he would like to. And we will tolerate the people of color who surrender to our regime. They will remain repressed as much as we possibly can. Look at Donald Trump's cabinet, right? What do we have? The guy who is the director of housing and urban development of color, Marco Rubio, but he's basically a guy that wishes he was white. Is there anybody else of color in the cabinet? I think there's one other Latino woman, I think. I'm not sure. I can't think of what department she's in charge of, I think, but that's it. Correct me. Fact check me if I'm wrong. I'm always happy to be corrected. So my point is that, and again, I kind of woke up to this, this morning. I woke up to it when one of my new friends posted that they were all black. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. And then yesterday when we were having our one of our news political meeting, one of the other creators, I don't know if I can't mention the creator's name because I haven't been given permission. I don't know if this person would be comfortable with that. I'd have to ask that. But really kind of made it clear that, that there was a reality that we were living in right now, right? Where black men have been worried about getting shot for decades now by the police. And the white community has woken up because 2 white people were shot in cold blood. It's not a straight up race issue. I mean, in the sense that also, full-on authoritarianism is on the line here. So I'm not ready to go down and say that this is a straight up racial issue, but that racial component to it is 100% true. And I needed to, acknowledge that the reality here is that is true, right? 2 white people were shot in cold blood on video. And rightfully we're all mad. So and it also proves that the Supreme Court is so fucking full of shit by gutting the Voting Rights Act. The reason that what's allowed the Roberts Court to consistently chip at the Voting Rights Act is this argument that basically racial discrimination and prejudice when it comes to voting and manipulation of voting, it just doesn't exist anymore. And it does. And this is so I think there is an overtone, an undertone, and a straight up narrative to this entire awful episode in the history of America today of these ICE roundups that is completely and utterly racist and profane and unacceptable. And I can't not say it because I feel it, and I think it's true. I know it's true. Hey, hey Tina, how are you? So on that note, let me just check the time. Oh fuck, it's 12 o'clock. Gamer Vet Dad, Trump has more in common with Lloyd Bridges from Airplane than a failed Austrian painter from the 1930s. Amen. Amen. Gail, you're still waking up. Take your time, Gail. If this was a script, it would be written by Mel Brooks, not Orson Welles. 100%. I could not agree with you more. Everything else is beneath him, so he could care less. He is senile, and people are now just living off of his presence. Finally, by the way, Nicole Wallace went there yesterday and covered not just his declining physical health, but his mental health. It was, and I want to see more of that, and I'm going to cover more of that. It was good to see it on mainstream media. The bottom line, in my opinion, is about his personal fortune. His net worth has gone up $1.4 billion, but directly due to his presidency, and he is suing for $10 billion. This is never about. This is never about control or a Fourth Reich. It's all about money. I agree with you. I do think he wants to be I think he's so fucking delusional. He wants to be the king of the Americas. I truly think he wants that. I mean, I think there is a monarchical delusion that's going through his mind. He really thinks he's got a shot at being king. He's the king of the Americas. Putin's the king of Europe, and she is the king of Asia. Lacey, I listened to Don Lemon's podcast this morning. So glad they had one. Me too. Absolutely. That they didn't cave to this asshole. Gail, how dare you be a black journalist? Exactly. The nerve, right? That they should be black people covering the Trump administration. So guys, on that note, I'd love to read more of the comments. I'm sorry, I didn't get to more of them, but I want to get to some of this other stuff before I have to go before I have to wrap this particular live. Let's go here first because I want to make sure I don't miss this. And then I'll get to the polling. Basically, the polling in essence is that the Village Idiot is polling at 37%. It should be lower, but I'll take that. I'll take that 1,000 times. But he's in the 20s with independents. I think he's 26% with independents. This is the thing. I think what I'm going to tell you about now, I think is going to be a significant thing. Yesterday, we had the privilege of getting a briefing from Larry. Let me get his last name. I want to make sure I don't fuck it up. Krasner. Larry Krasner is the district attorney of Philadelphia. If you are familiar at all with Larry, you probably heard him on cable news about 2 weeks ago, basically telling the ICE Gestapo, if you come into Philadelphia, fuck around with us and find out. We will arrest you. We will arrest you. Since then, he has been, and he's not, I mean, they can come in, but if they start breaking the law, he said, we will arrest you. So Krasner went further, and he wanted to make it clear that there is no such thing as absolute immunity, period. It doesn't exist in the law for federal agents, for local police, state or local police officers. No such thing as absolute immunity, right? There is a form of immunity that police are entitled to that has protected them. It protected, I think, it consistently protected police for years and years and years who just kept killing black men um, until George Floyd and Derek Chauvin learned that there is no such thing as absolute immunity. He's serving a 40-year sentence right now. Um, so there is no such thing. Um, but there is a certain type of immunity that police have in the sense of, like, they sometimes have to, for sake of public safety or defend themselves, they sometimes have to hurt people, and it's an unfortunate part of policing. So there is qualified immunity, I think, is the term. And the term is not nearly as broad, was never as broad as prosecutors felt it was when they were afraid to prosecute police. And after the George Floyd murder and then the subsequent conviction, prosecutors learned that qualified immunity is not nearly as broad as they used to think it was when, it just wasn't in style to prosecute a cop for anything. Larry Krasner is making the point that we know that now, and that you are not immune. And guess what? There is one thing. There is there is one type of prosecution that Donald Trump cannot pardon you for, and that's a state or a local prosecution. He can pardon people for a federal prosecution, but he can't pardon anyone for a state or local prosecution. And Krasner made the point that if you come to Philadelphia and you break the law, we are going to prosecute you, right? Now, he's not saying specifically that the police will arrest you, that the Philadelphia police will arrest you. And I asked him about this, and I'm going to get to, in our briefing yesterday, and I want to give you an idea of what his response was. And this wasn't off the record, so I'm allowed to talk about this. So he started, he connected in order to make this have more teeth, in order to make his message more accessible, right? Krasner reached out to other local district attorneys. And the reason he went local as opposed to state is he felt that state attorneys need to be a little bit more moderate in attorney generals for different states need to be a little bit more moderate. Their jobs can be a little bit more political, and they have a much larger constituency to, and it doesn't mean they won't participate in this at some point, but Krasner just felt it would be more effective with local district attorneys and local prosecutors. So he reached out to prosecutors across the country, and the response was pretty fucking good. And it seems that prosecutors and district attorneys around the country are not keen on two things. One is they're not particularly enthusiastic about having the ICE Gestapo come into their city or town and start beating the shit out of people, killing people, ripping people out of their cars, breaking into people's homes without a judicial warrant, with only an administrative warrant, and just breaking the law in general. They don't like that, and they don't want that. And the other thing that they're not too keen on is one of their fellow district attorneys, the one, I can't remember her name, but the district attorney in Minneapolis, being by herself and having to fight this fight on her own, because apparently they like to come together as a team, and they know each other, and they like to protect each other. So their initial two goals were to rally around her to the extent that they could and help her do her job to get her city safe from ICE in whatever capacity they can. And legally, there's not much a Philadelphia prosecutor can do in Minneapolis, but in terms, I'm sure in terms of consultation, in terms of of being part of a community. They, in terms of providing her support, emotional and professional support, I'm sure they can do stuff. And the second part is protecting, making sure they protect the constituents in their cities and towns. They decided that they're going to be most effective if they turn this organization into a nonprofit organization, which they called FAFO, which, as we know, Pete Hegseth likes to use the term, when he's acting like really tough and he wants everybody to know that he still has a big drunken dick that still works. He's like, and we are the warrior class, and we're going to take them all down. And we've got the toughest military in the world. We got killers. You don't believe it? Fuck around and find out. Right? Fucking idiot, right? But in the real world, right? With normal fucking people, right? Who are not inebriated when they're speaking to us. A loudmouth from Philly. I'm from Philly. I was born in Philly. I grew up. I spent half of my childhood in Philly. Philly is still, as you guys know, I'm an Eagles fan. Even though I live outside of New York, I keep a low profile. Well, not so much, but anymore. But I'm from Philly. I know Philly well, right? And you probably hear, if I tell my son to close the window, if you ever hear me yell, close it, you'll hear me yell, close the window, because that's how we talk. And I never say, when I say the whole word, I don't say Philadelphia, I say Philadelphia, because that's how we speak. So I know what Philly is like. Philly is a town. It's not a great situation in many times. And when the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017, where normal people have a party, in Philly they riot and they pull down traffic lights. And even when I was a kid, and you would have the Flyers, who were the champion, or the Phillies, who were the championship. The Eagles weren't that great back then. In the 70s, you would have, my parents would take me to the parades, because that's what we liked to do. We used to go to parades all the time when I lived in Philly. And, you would see people at the top of a telephone pole. When we would go to the Thanksgiving Day parade and the Mummers Parade. The Mummers Parade is the New Year's parade every year in Philly. Again, unlike a normal city where people respect, property and their own lives, you would go to the Mummers Parade and the teenagers and the young adults to get a better view. You know what? As kids, we would push our way to the front and sit in front, because that was allowed in Philly for some reason. The children, we were allowed to push our way to the front of the line, go through people's legs, and then sit in front of the wooden barricades that keep everybody back. But they let the kids sit in front of them. For some reason. And the lunatics would also, they would climb up and they would sit at the top of the traffic lights. And the police allowed this because that's what they do. So it's a strange place, a wonderfully strange place. But so Krasner is, he is a loudmouth from Philly. And so when you hear Krasner say "fuck around and find out," it's not like a pathetic, made, putz with his makeup, and his camera and his fucking fake, abs and his pretend boobs, his muscular boobs if he has them, and his white nationalist fucking chest tattoo like Pete Hegseth. It's actually somebody who would say that for real in real life, right? But what it's actually called is the Fight Against Federal Overreach. That's the FAFO. It's a national coalition of district attorneys collaborating to ensure federal officials are held accountable when they exceed their lawful authority. These are the district attorneys who have founded the organization. It also includes prosecutors. What I want to show you is where's the video? I just want to show you the video because, again, this is not fucking propagandist bullshit from the Trump administration. These are from real people who are real professionals who know how to do what needs to be done. Check this out.
Are we in Germany?
Stop! Hey! He said he doesn't have to show a warrant.
How can I relax? He just killed my neighbor.
You raise your voice, I raise your voice.
I've had enough.
Enough with the warrantless arrests.
Enough with the illegal home entry.
Enough with the violent assault.
Federal officers do not have absolute immunity.
They do not have permission to break the law.
And they do not have the right to violate your constitutional rights.
And they certainly do not have the unchecked power
To deprive you of your life and liberty.
I am a prosecutor.
I am a district attorney.
I'm a prosecutor.
I am a district attorney.
I am a district attorney.
I am a prosecutor.
And we're coming together from around the country
To fight against federal overreach.
FAFO will not tolerate these abuses of power.
We will work together to make sure federal officers
Uphold the law in our states and cities.
Where federal officers break the law, they will be prosecuted.
no one
No one.
no one.
No one is above the law.
Learn more about us at federaloverreach.org.
You've had enough?
And we hear you.
So yeah. You know, I don't ever do this, but I'm going to donate to them. I can't donate much because we don't have a lot of extra bread right now. You know, maybe we'll do 20, my wife and I, maybe we'll do $25 or something like that. But if it's something, because I think that this has to happen, this organization has to happen. And if it's something that you want to donate to, you know, I just want to put it up there. I don't ever want to tell people how to spend their money, especially everybody needs everybody and their mother needs donations right now. But this is an organization that I'm going to donate to. And the you can see, oh, you guys can't see it. You know, so the website is federaloverreach.org if you just want to check it out for yourself. FEDERAL overreach.org. Eventually, I mean, I'm figuring out Ecamm Live, which is my streaming platform, more and more each day. But I haven't really figured out yet how to get my I have an idea how to do it. How to get my my chats, my live chats from here and from, we only have it looks like there's nobody on YouTube. I mean, we're going live to YouTube, but there's nobody here right now from YouTube. But how to get those, oh, thank you, Tina. Thanks for putting it in there. But eventually I'm going to get this straightened out where I can, you know, type into the live stream as well, you know, not necessarily through my iPad, but through my overall setup here. So I'm working on that. I haven't quite figured that out yet. All right, guys, it's 12:17. I just have a couple more minutes. Let me just show you this polling from Pew. Let me find the Pew Research Center. All right, what you can't see up there is the headline is confidence in Trump dips, and fewer now say they support his policies. Remember, guys, I have my own benchmark, which I tell you about all the time. And that benchmark is when that idiot's approval rating is regularly in the 20s, the overall approval rating in anywhere in the 20s for an extended period of time, I will take a deep breath. I know democracy is safe, personally. Right now, we are closer. I know that where his polling has been, I know the politics of the village idiot is over. Polling consistently in the 30s. And polling in the 20s with independents. He's been with in the 20s with independents since like probably early November or so. I mean, it's not going to change, right? Things are only going to consistently get worse. Somehow he manages to linger around the 30s to the low 40s in his approval rating. But I believe he's going to wind up in the 20s at some point. So let's just read some of this reporting. A year into his administration, American views of President Donald Trump already more negative than positive, continue to slip. So overall approval rating, I think this was like an 8,500 people poll. 37% approve, 61% disapprove. I mean, it's again, think about it. I mean, Biden wound up here at the end of his at the end of his first term, right? Think about how unthinkable this is in terms of modern politics. You have a second-term president, a president who was reelected just a year into his first presidency, his second presidency, and he's polling at 37% right now. And he's been stuck from like 39 to 41% forever. And what was he at, 51% or something when he was elected? It's abysmal. It's unthinkably abysmal. It hasn't happened in modern American politics. Percent who say the Trump administration actions since taking office have been expected. Only 21% say better than expected. 50% say worse than expected. And again, I know those of us that pay attention to this shit every minute of hey, and Sweet and Down Tea, every minute of every hour of every day are like, how the fuck can it only be 50%? But you got to remember, most of America is not dialed in like we are, right? So these numbers for an American president it's unthinkable. The percentage of people who support Donald Trump's policies and plans, 27% support most of his policies and plans. 27% support most of his policies. Let me say that again. 27%. 20% support some of his policies and plans. 52%, a few or none. That is. I know, Beth. I know. I know that it's like the question is, how can it possibly be 52% support at least a few, right? Or not, or no, well, or none. How is that not 72%, right? But I think it's important to what this tells us is that most of America is not dialed into politics 24/7, right? Most of America is just is just they live their lives, right? They don't have the bandwidth, time, or interest to focus on politics. But what this data tells us is he's so horrible that when you have a majority of average Americans, over a majority, 52% who support. I'm sorry, guys, I don't mean to blow my nose in there. 52% who only support a few or none of his policies. There's not one thing that most Americans support that he does. It's actually a staggering number. When you have 27%, which, if this poll is reflective of all of America, hypothetically, because who knows, but that's 27% is what's left of the MAGA cult, right? That's the people who are the fever has. That used to be 35%, right? So you even if we're actually at a point, and again, I think he should be polling generally at 22% with all Americans all the time. So, but also I live in this stuff day in and day out, right? But if Donald Trump has lost 12% of the most extreme MAGA cult members, if he's that fucking bad, think of David Koresh, right? The guy from Waco, or any other fucking cult member in recent modern history of cults, right? Think about like Jim Jones of the cult from Guyana, right? Where they drink the Kool-Aid. Think about if they lost 12% of their cult members, right? Right, because that's the type of brainwashed people that are in this, loving all or most of his policies, right? That, that doesn't happen, right? You know what? Like, a cult doesn't lose until the cult falls apart. Doesn't lose a significant percentage of its people, right? And if he's gone from 35% cult members to 27% cult members, I think that's saying a lot. So I think this is something to this data is heartening for whatever that's worth. Trump's approval rating stands at 37%, down from 40% in the fall. By more than 2 to 1, Americans say the administration's actions have been worse than they expected. Only about a quarter of Americans, 27%, say they support all or most of Trump's policies and plans. That was a third before, down from 35%. I didn't make that up, right? 35% when he returned to office last year. That change has come almost entirely among Republicans. He's losing Republicans. And where do we see that, guys? You're not seeing that reflected on Fox News, because Fox News isn't real. It's all bullshit. It's hard to see that when you watch cable news. But now that I am learning, and I'm so thankful, and again, I got to thank you guys. I would never be in this course program without you. I cannot tell you the access that we are getting now, the stuff that I am learning. I can't go, but I because I have my son and we have all the family and everything else. I have the family and everything else. But if I was able to pull it off, I would be able to go to the State of the Union this year and live stream it for you guys. I am. I am like, I am shaking in that I would love to. I would want to do it so badly. Like, who gives up this opportunity? I could go to the State of the Union. I could sit in the chamber and I could live stream this. They're requesting that we do it. And some of us might be. Not me, because we don't have that sort of we don't have that sort of representative, but some representatives are even funding the cost of the trip. So I cannot describe to you the kind of access and opportunity that I've been given through this remarkable organization, and I cannot thank you guys enough for it, because without this community, there's no way I would have this opportunity. And I am fully engaging in everything. There is no course, there is no briefing. I won't miss anything because I owe it to this community, and I won't everything that I can talk about that isn't off the record, everything I will share with you, because this is our opportunity to learn more and know more and grow the community. And I can't thank you guys enough for this. But what I'm learning from being able to read this data now, and being able to understand the metrics, is the social media space is where everybody is. And you can see, when you look at the data, the overall macro data from social media engagement and where people are at, whether they're on the right or the left, the sourness that exists within both sides, on the internet and on social, is the sourness toward the Trump administration is staggering. And no matter what the right-wing propagandists tell you, no matter what the bullshit podcasters try to perpetuate, well, some of them are actively hammering Donald Trump already anyway. But those who are trying to perpetuate, like the Megyn Kellys, that are trying to bullshit and gaslight everybody that Trump is winning, he's not. The country is, the metrics are the metrics, and the data is bipartisan. It doesn't give a shit. The numbers say what they say. And it is clear. It is clear that the country is fed up. Both sides is fed up. And it is indicative. What you see in this polling is absolutely validated by what's happening on social right now, in terms of people watching, in terms of what they're watching, how they're engaging, and what they're reacting to. So I will just leave that there. 12:28. What time is it? Oh shit, I gotta go, guys. He's a desk jockey. Let me just read a few more of these. Oh, thank you, Gail. Thank you. Gamer Vet Dad, thank you for the stats. So all right, anyway, guys, I do have to go. I'm gonna be late. I just told you I don't miss anything, and now I'm gonna be late. I'm gonna miss something. I love you guys. 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, one live at a time. I love you guys, and I will see you soon. I'll post this a little bit later, and if I can squeeze in a live later today, I will do that as well. Be well, everybody. Hang in there, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, Lacey, for telling me to get my ass moving. I'll see you guys.